creative freelancers and solopreneurs. Welcome to Coaching for Creatives. Today's conversation is all about boundaries, and specifically 4 critical boundaries that are going to make a world of difference to your productivity, to your well-being, to your efficiency, and ultimately to your bottom line. Welcome. I'm McKay. I am your host for Coaching for Creatives. I am the founder of Business of Creativity. I just got back from speaking at a conference, virtual conference, for the Professional Photographers of Canada for their Alberta and BC branches. And the topic of my presentation was about productivity. It was about how can we do less, feel better, and earn more. One of the key takeaways that I gave in that talk made such an impact to the attendees, and I've seen it be one of the critical things that has made a huge difference for many of my clients. It's counterintuitive because as a multi-passionate, as a creative person, as someone who has chosen to be self-employed, has chosen autonomy and having control over your time and who you work with and where you go and what you do and the kinds of projects you get to participate in, having that freedom, having that ability to color outside of lines, to not be constrained, is a big reason many of us have moved towards self-employment, to being a freelance, to being an entrepreneur. A lot of people that I talk to who are struggling with symptoms of overwhelm or burnout, they just can't seem to catch up on things. They feel like they're constantly at the beck and call of their clients. They are really suffering, and many of them are also way over delivering, so they're probably leaving money on the table or not making as much as they could. All of these symptoms, when I listen to them, they all come back to this core pillar or this core concept of having boundaries to set us up for success. And a lot of people resist the idea of constraint. They feel like if we have boundaries, that means like I'm going to be stuck in a box or I'm not going to have that freedom. Interestingly enough, there's an artist called Phil Henson who did a TED Talk or some kind of a video a while back now called Embrace the Shake. He shares his journey as a creative who ended up embracing not just the shake of his palsy that he was having, but embracing constraint as a gateway to ideas and innovation and creative expression. There's also some evidence around how do you generate creativity and innovation. A lot of it is when we're up against a constraint, when we're up against a deadline, when we have a limited problem that we're solving, that we become more creative and more innovative. Even in design thinking, there is the belief that the most of our time is about really identifying what is the problem that we're solving, what is the constraint within which we are going to apply our design thinking and our creativity and our ideas. That whole process is based on creating some boundaries within which we can thrive. How can we do that in our business? How can we do that in our business in a way that supports us to be able to do less, feel better, and earn more? There are 4 key boundaries that you want to apply in your business in order to have that experience. Here they are. I'm going to list all 4, and then I'm going to go through all 4 of them. If you are watching this live or you're watching this on the replay, I'd love to hear from you. What is your relationship to boundaries? Do you like the idea of constraint or boundaries? Do you resist the idea? I'm curious because most of what I'm basing my own experience off of is from my past clients or from the reading and the psychology that I've read up on. But I'd love to know your firsthand experience. What are your thoughts and feelings around constraint, around boundaries? All right, here are the 4 critical boundaries that are going to make a huge difference to the success of your creative business. Number 1, an availability boundary. Number 2, an accessibility boundary. Number 3, an environmental boundary. Number 4, an emotional boundary. Let's start off with the availability boundary. This one is fairly straightforward. It's all about, your time availability? Are you being available to your clients 24/7? When are you available to friends and family? Do you have a boundary on your availability? The best practice that I've discovered through trial and error, mostly error, but the best practice that I've discovered is to have a specific start time to my workday and a specific end time to my workday, so that I have a boundary on when am I going to be focused on serving my clients, building my business, doing the work of being a creative freelancer. By doing that, there's like these book-ended constraints, boundaries on my availability, and it creates a little bit more motivation and a sense of urgency around the tasks that I'm doing, because I can, but I have declared and committed to a specific end time to my day, which means that I need to get it done by, for me, 3:30, but I need to get it done by 3:30 because I'm not going to work into the evening, and I want to be available to friends and family. I want to be available to myself and my well-being after that time. So number 1 is put a boundary or a constraint on your availability and share that availability. Sometimes it's a huge service to be able to say to our friends and family, hey, I'm going to be available after 6 o'clock every evening, or I'm available anytime on the weekend except for after 2 o'clock on Sunday. That's my no people time. I just need that time to rest, recover, and rejuvenate. Whatever it is, if you have a clear boundary and you communicate it and then you stick to it, you're going to find that sense of stress and overwhelm and burnout starts to dissipate after a while. The second really critical boundary that's going to make a huge difference to your creative freelance business is accessibility. In this day and age, there's about 5 gazillion ways that people can get a hold of you. And if you make yourself accessible on all the different channels, you're accessible by text, by email, by phone, by instant message, by direct message, by WhatsApp, there's so many different ways that people can connect with us that it's almost like we are always accessible. It creates a sense of never really having autonomy over your time. And it can often disrupt a state of flow. It can disrupt focus. It can impact our emotions as well. That's the last one we're going to talk about, is emotional boundaries. Having those accessibility boundaries. What I recommend, best practice, pick 1, ideally, but 2 different communication channels that you are going to use as your main communication channels. 1 primary communication channel. This is one that you promise to respond to quickly. This is the communication channel that you prefer, that is going to be working with your own sort of natural way of interacting with tech and communication tools. Pick that one. So for me, I really like Slack as a communication tool. All of my paying clients are within my Slack community. What that means is I prioritize Slack messages over anything else. This is my inner circle. These are my paying clients. These are the people that really matter to me in my business. For friends and family, I prefer text. Text gives me an opportunity to be able to decide when and how I'm going to reply. It can give me a really great way to communicate information very quickly and very clearly. It's an awesome tool. Those are my 2 primary tools, is text and Slack message. But pick the one that's going to work for you and your style of communication. All right, number 3, the third critical boundary for success in your creative business is environment. Many of us are working from home. Many of us are being challenged with working from home because it wasn't part of the plan. You'll see that this is my home office, so welcome. And you'll see this background a lot. One of the beautiful things about having a home office is that it is a separate and distinct space from where I live. There's never any crossover, any bleed of my work into my personal life. There's a very distinctive environmental boundary. And the environment here is set up so that when I come into this space, I'm reminded of my achievements. I'm surrounded by my art. I have some pieces of inspiration in the form of other books available to me. I have my vision board up. So I'm in a space that environmentally is going to support me doing the work that I need to do with motivation, with energy. It's going to support me getting into that creative flow state. Now, I'm about ready for a redo and a renovation, but having that separate environment, best practice for you is to make sure that you have a very clear distinction. Even if you have a small space, just do your best to have one chair that is your work with your laptop chair, instead of doing your work with your laptop on your couch, where you also do all your Netflix and you also eat your dinner and you also. Do your best to create a distinct environment that supports you being your best and doing your best while you're investing in your business. Lastly, emotional boundaries. This is a tough one for a lot of creatives because, well, and a lot of freelancers in general, there is things like imposter syndrome and not being good enough, and taking feedback or critique of our work as being feedback or critique on who we are in the world. That merging and conflation of our value as a human being, our inherent self-worth, our value to our clients, happens a lot because so much of what we're doing in our service is personal. It is part of our creative self-expression, but it is not who you are. It is not who you are. And being able to make that distinction. The 4 agreements is a place where I turn to a lot of times. And there's one of the 4 agreements that is about don't take anything personally. And that is so hard to do as a creative freelancer and entrepreneur. So curious from all of you who are listening or watching, what do you do to be able to maintain emotional boundaries and separation between your self-worth and your net worth? Best practice for me has been to pay attention to some of the mindset tools, to ask the question, is this really mine? Do I need to take this on and do something with this feedback or with this emotion? And by practicing the first 3 boundaries, it actually protects my emotional boundaries. I'm not getting interrupted at any time of the day, willy-nilly, with messages or feedback that I'm not prepared for. I'm not overworking and depleting my resilience or any of my other aspects of ability to process emotions. I'm creating a big distinction in my home life between work and home life. And all of those combine to support me in having emotional boundaries as well, so that I don't get thrown off track as easily, so that I can stay engaged and productive and efficient in my business. Those are the 4 critical boundaries that I invite you to try on in your business. The boundary of availability, accessibility, environment, and emotion. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions about that or about the sources that I referenced in this particular Coaching for Creatives, let me know. As always, I love hearing your comments and feedback. Thank you so much for joining us live. I'm McKay. This has been Coaching for Creatives. Have a fantastic week.